When I first started my studio, I thought I was doing everything right. I had a perfect logo, a clean website, beautiful images, and even playlists that perfectly matched my aesthetics. But I wasn't hitting my goals. My income was inconsistent, my leads were all over the place, and I was starting to question whether I would ever be able to stop taking side jobs to support my creative vision. So on my late night walks, in which I do my deeper reflection, I asked myself the question, what was the problem that was holding everything back? And I kept coming to the same conclusion. The problem wasn't my designs, it wasn't my work ethic, it was my foundation. The foundation my entire brand was built on, my branding foundation. As designers, we're trained to make things look good, but that's not enough to create a strong brand. If you're pouring your heart and soul into your business, but it's not growing, the problem is probably in the foundation, making the entire building shaky. And I know because I used to be an architect. So let's get into it. So the brand foundation is the first thing that I teach in my consulting, because just like with building a building, if you're trying to build a skyscraper on top of a foundation that isn't strong, you're out there on level 46 building this penthouse, but your foundation is shaky, the whole building is going to come crumbling down. There's no point at working on these higher levels trying to scale your business if your foundation is not steady. So we start by fixing the foundation so you can build from a place of clarity and strength, which, like a building, will allow your brand to grow higher and more steady. So let's get into how to actually build a strong and steady brand foundation and why this actually matters. This is the first lesson in which I dive deeper into the 6 steps of my method so you can learn to apply these to your business to scale it like I did mine. For those who don't know me, I'm Emma, founder of Studio Prins, my design studio that I made profitable within a year, without a name, without a network, without going on any galleries or design expositions or other digital platforms. I did it all with one person team, me, one platform, and one system, creating simplicity, allowing to scale with ease. Why? Because I believe that successful scaling comes down to simplicity. I see so many designers spread themselves thin, both financially and time-wise, chasing recognition by being on all these different platforms, going from one exposition to the next. The focus here is always on more, thinking that the next big thing is going to give them the recognition that they believe they deserve. But what if what's holding you back from your desired success is not something that needs to be chased, but rather something that needs to be created? Instead of adding more and more to the to-do list, more stress, more things to do, more things to chase, actually taking a step back and focusing on the things that actually move the needle forward. What if the answer doesn't lie in doing more, but doing less things better? If you're constantly chasing the next big thing, the next design platform, the next exposition, making a whole new design, are you actually moving forward, or are you stuck chasing your own tail? I'm speaking from experience here. It's so easy to get distracted by the next big shiny thing down the road, but that's exactly what it is, a distraction. Brands aren't built by chasing. They exist and they attract. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you. So you can stop running in this hamster wheel, regain your peace of mind, and actually start scaling towards your goals. So let's dig into the key problems that I was facing before I had my brand foundation and how to fix them. Let's start with the biggest one, inconsistent leads. When your brand isn't clear, your messaging isn't clear. And when your messaging isn't clear, you won't be attracting your right audience. You'll be attracting random inquiries. People who don't respect your work, people who can't afford it, people who want everything for nothing, or sometimes just silence, nothing at all. Inconsistent leads give you an inconsistent income, so you never know which month you're gonna get 500 or 5K. So how to fix inconsistent leads? By fixing your messaging. How to fix your messaging? By fixing your brand foundation. That leads us to the next big issue, unqualified leads. So you might be thinking, okay, if I'm getting 100 leads a day, that's a good thing, right? If 90% of your leads are unqualified, that means that you'll have to sort through 90 people, wasting your time because they're not qualified leads. And time is precious as an entrepreneur. We don't want to be wasting it. This leads us to the elephant in the room, scaling. How are you supposed to scale a business that doesn't have a clear foundation? This brings us back to the skyscraper analogy. If you're out there trying to build that penthouse, but your whole foundation is shaky, that whole penthouse is gonna come crumbling down. I was making this mistake for so long. I kept trying to add more offers, more designs, more platforms to my studio, when my branding foundation was still not solid. This is like building the penthouse on top of sticks. It's gonna fall down. So what's the solution? It's by building a real brand. This is not just a color palette, logos, and nice website, pretty images. It's actually focusing on the value, the deeper layer beneath that. What does your brand stand for? What does it not stand for? Who is your ideal client? What is the problem that you're solving? What are your long-term goals? What is your greater mission? How are you changing the world? By answering these questions, you build a much deeper foundation for your brand, allowing you to have clearer messaging and attracting the right people to your business. So let's take a specific example. Let's say that I'm scaling an interior design studio from 5 to 10K. They are this beautiful, modern, minimal design studio. They have a beautifully aesthetic feed, a beautiful website, this perfect minimal color palette, clean logo, but they're getting inconsistent, unqualified leads, and they simply can't get past 5K. This is why we need to take a look beneath the surface. It's kind of like swiping on Tinder. Simply qualifying your matches based on their looks is probably not going to result in a profound relationship. If you want to attract qualified leads, you need to start digging deeper than simply the color palette and ask yourself, what are my brand goals? What are my brand values? And what is the problem that my offer solves? Now, this may sound like it's too profound for a design studio, but it's not. Becoming clear on the problem you solve is super important for your messaging. So let's say that this design studio focuses on creating super clean, minimal, comforting, and calming spaces in an overstimulating, busy city environment. You're not just designing spaces, you're actually creating this refuge, a place of comfort. That is so much more than simply a design. And this is exactly the key that you want to present on your brand's stage. Yes, of course, the beautiful imagery allows us to enter this beautiful world of modern minimalism. But you want to go that extra layer of depth to show your potential client the actual transformation that you provide. Showcase how your designs actually solve this problem, provide this transformation, this solution. As designers, we tend to focus on the aesthetic instead of the problem that we actually solve with our designs. Get clear on the problem you solve and make this part of your foundation. This is exactly what's going to make your client go, oof, I want to work with you, instead of, I don't really know what's going on here. Now, I know this because I was there too. I was stuck simply chasing aesthetics because I'm a designer, I get it. I'm also obsessed with aesthetics, but that's not what's gonna actually sell your work. You wanna go that deeper layer to see how your designs actually provide this transformation. And quite often, going into that deeper layer means going into a deeper layer of you. If you don't know what problem you're solving, it's probably because you haven't reflected enough. So it's time to take a step back and actually do some inner reflection on what it is that your designs actually change in this world. What is the transformation they provide? For me, it was providing a refuge from the overstimulation of dating life through this monochromatic world inspired by the flow of water. This deeper level is what really creates a strong brand versus simply having a beautiful color palette. So let's dig in some of the common pitfalls that we as designers tend to face and that are actually stopping us from growing our businesses. So the first one that I've already slightly touched upon is actually getting lost in the aesthetics. As designers, we're such visual people and we're so focused on having these aesthetics be perfect. This beautiful, detailed image of the way like this specific material curves and where this material maybe was found. But guess what? Most of your ICAs, your ideal client avatar, your potential leads, they don't really care so much. They care more about the feeling that your designs actually provide, more so than the details that you're currently showing. If you're just simply showcasing these beautiful detailed pictures, focus on these raw shots, these materials without this extra layer of depth of what your brand actually stands for, you're basically just one designer talking to another. That's D to D, not B to B. Yeah, I made that up. Designer to designer, not business to business. We want to focus on designer to our potential client or to another business, not necessarily designer to another designer. How do we do that? By focusing on the feeling that our brands create. Why is that important? Because feeling is what's actually remembered. But how do we achieve it? By going into this deeper layer, this deeper level of our brand foundation. What is the feeling that our brand creates? Is it serenity? Is it empowerment? What is the lasting impact we really want our ICA, our prospective leads, to walk away with after having experienced our brand? Focus in on this feeling and magnify it. This is going to be the strength within your messaging. So I'm telling you to magnify this feeling, magnify your branding, create this repetition. And you might be thinking, but am I not going to sound like a broken record if I keep repeating the same thing over and over? No, not to your ideal client. Repetition is actually a good thing. Don't be afraid of repetition. Don't be afraid of sounding like a broken record. Just keep finding these different angles to say the same thing because you want your message to land with your ideal audience. And it might be clear to you, but it's going to take actually a lot of repetition for it to also land with your ideal client. And that actually brings me to one of the last pitfalls that I see other designers, and what I also had myself, continue to encounter. And that is that we perceive our studios, our businesses, our designs, our brand from our own perspective and not from the perspective of our ideal client. And you're probably like, duh, of course I only perceive it from my perspective. How am I supposed to do it the other way around? But that's exactly the pitfall. You need to step out of seeing your brand solely from your perspective and start viewing it from the perspective of your ideal client. How can you do this? This is obviously a really hard exercise to do all by yourself. So I highly recommend asking a friend or getting a coach or a consultant to help you out. You need to shift your perspective from seeing your brand through your own eyes to seeing that of your ideal audience. Instead of only showing the pictures that you really like, focus on what your ideal audience needs to see. What is the transformation that they want to see? What is the problem that you actually solve? And repeat this. Make it really land within their brains. Make your message land. So now that you understand the importance of building a brand foundation, I need you to focus on actually creating it. And this might feel like you're taking 3 steps backward, 2 steps backward, but you will be taking 3 steps forward. It's time to filter out the noise. If you want to scale your business, if you want to scale your design studio, it's time to filter out the noise and get clear on what your brand really stands for. What are your values? How are you going to be remembered after you die? It's getting a little dark, but it's important to view it that way. How do you think your brand will be remembered? What are your long-term goals here? What are your long-term visions? What's the lasting impact of your brand? Where are you going? What's your 5-year destination? What's your 10-year destination? What's your greater mission on all of this? This is where you'll get your deeper, emotional, profound brand foundation that will actually stick with your ICA and make you be remembered. The answers to these questions will not only give your brand more depth, but also more clarity and direction, more clarity in your messaging. And more clarity in your messaging is what allows you to attract your ideal client to you. If you feel like you could benefit from having an extra perspective on your business, helping you grow, helping you scale from your 5 to 10K, check out my Instagram profile and shoot me a message, and I'd love to see if we'd be a great fit in working together. Until then, make sure to subscribe to this channel because I'll be adding 5 more videos on which I go more in depth on the 6 steps of my alternative method, and I'll be adding hundreds more videos on which I help other designers scale their businesses to a steady income the simple way.